Everything's unaffordable. No, you step outside your house, it costs $30-$50 just to go anywhere, just to do anything, just to eat, just to get some groceries, just to eat a meal, to get some gas. It's too expensive, and people are already isolated, and then a lot of the mental health crisis, the loneliness crisis, it comes down to like an economic one, the haves and the have-nots. Like if you're struggling paying your bills and contributing to your retirement and having like a normal stable life, then of course you're going to struggle with your mental health. Like, how could you not? And then for people to be like, oh, just hang in there. Oh, it's easy for you to say, right? You're not in this person's situation. You're probably sitting in a much different situation yourself to sit there and judge someone who's struggling with their mental health. You have no idea what they've been through, what they're going through. People lack empathy. They lack compassion and understanding. We're just so divided. It's just like people don't really understand it anyways. They don't really care to come together to solve the issue. It's like nothing's getting done. Nothing's getting better. It's so hopeless. It's so bleak. Like, what's the point of even trying anymore? Because like back then, hard work meant something. It actually paid off. And then these days with millennials and Gen Z, hard work doesn't necessarily lead to anything except more slavery, more burnout, more overwhelm. It's exhausting.
Quick question to any Americans, between the ages of 35 to 45, especially if you have kids, but even if you don't, how are we affording things? How are you affording anything? And houses and cars, that's not really what I'm talking, but yeah, that. I mean more like, how are you affording gas and groceries and healthcare and utilities and all the other 900 subscriptions that are required to live these days? How are you doing that? I'm assuming you all also are not you're not taking any vacations, and you've like us have just cut out the coffee and the Target shopping and the activities for the kids as much as you can. You've taken away, you've gotten rid of pretty much anything fun. Like, you're not having any more fun. Assuming you're also doing that, how are you living? If you have any tips or tricks, just go ahead and drop them in the comments.
And I don't know, I just think it's fucking crazy that it costs thousands upon thousands of dollars to support yourself, to eat, to have a house, to have clean water, to have clean clothes, like just to exist, when none of us asked to exist. None of us asked to be here. We just showed up one day. That's so messed up.
Hey YouTube, there's been a lot of people online asking a question that sounds simple, but has become harder to answer lately. How is anyone actually supposed to afford life right now? In this video, we're looking at clues from Americans talking about rising prices, shrinking budgets, and the feeling that even normal everyday expenses are starting to become impossible to keep up with. We're breaking down why so many people feel like they're constantly falling behind, why the old advice about money doesn't seem to fit anymore, and how the affordability crisis is changing what people think about the future.
So The Guardian just published a new poll, and it's not good. 97% of Americans believe we're in an affordability crisis. And they believe that because it's true. And it's true because it's Trump's fault. 57% of Americans can't afford gas and groceries. And that includes Democrats and Republicans and independents, and even people who have no idea what's going on with politics in this country. Because as it turns out, inflation and a destroyed economy doesn't ask you who you voted for. And people are in record debt. Not because they went on a fancy vacation or they bought a car they can't afford or they're shopping constantly. They're in debt because they can't keep up with the basic necessities. They're in debt over medical bills. And Trump has transferred an enormous amount of money from Americans to himself, to his sons, to his billionaire friends, to pay for a war they are profiting off of. Have you taken a look at your energy bill this month? Because mine's through the roof, and it's also hot as hell out. He keeps bragging about all the money that he's making. That's our money. He's taking it from us. He's taking it out of people's checks every single month. We're paying more for everything because oil prices are up, and we have to move things around the United States. And his friends are the ones that own the corporations that we are buying from. They're destroying small businesses. So your money is going directly to his friends and himself and his children. This is the largest transfer of wealth this country has ever seen. and it's not going to stop while he's in office.
The current state of the economy is kicking my ass. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I feel like my fiance and I just work. We work and work and work and work just to pay bills, just to afford the house we have, to afford groceries, to make sure that everyone is comfortable. And it's fucking a lot. It is a lot. And you guys can say, oh, the economy is great. Y'all, again, I voted for the current president. The economy is not great. I don't care what you're saying. Groceries have gone up exponentially. And I can say specific items because I buy the same specific items when I go to the store. I buy the same fucking fries milk, same fucking fries bread, same fucking fries this, that, and the other. And there's no reason for it to be increased, right? Gas. Oh my God. Gas is so unaffordable. And to get to work, you obviously have to buy the gas to get there. And that's fucking unaffordable. And it's no one's getting raises, no one's getting bonuses. Like, I'm just stressed to the nines. And I don't know if it's just me, but I know 8 years ago when my fiance and I first were dating, we were able to put much more into savings. Life was much more affordable. And mind you, we were making less then. So obviously something isn't working.
One of the biggest frustrations people are feeling right now is that they can do everything they were told to do and still feel like they're barely staying in place. For years, the message was pretty simple. Work hard, make smart choices, save your money, and eventually things will get better. But a lot of people are realizing that the math doesn't really feel the same anymore. Someone can have a job, avoid wasting money, and still watch their paycheck disappear into rent, groceries, insurance, and bills before they even get a chance to breathe. That feeling is what makes this conversation different from just people complaining about prices going up. It's the feeling that the amount of effort required to live a normal life keeps increasing. A few decades ago, many people could work one steady job and feel like they were building towards something bigger. Now, a lot of Americans are watching people around them work longer hours, pick up extra income, and still struggle with expenses that seem impossible to avoid. Even basic things that used to feel routine now require extra planning. Going out to eat, replacing a broken phone, taking a trip, or even dealing with an unexpected bill can turn into a serious financial decision. And that's why telling people to simply work harder can feel frustrating, because many people are already working hard. The question a lot of people are asking is whether hard work still creates the same opportunities it used to, because when prices rise faster than incomes, people can put in more effort without actually feeling more secure. That's the reality that many workers are quietly dealing with every single month. They aren't necessarily looking for some perfect lifestyle or luxury purchase. A lot of people are just trying to reach a point where they don't feel stressed every time they check their bank account. And when millions of people start feeling like they're running faster just to stay in the same place, it changes the way they look at the entire economy.
I knew the economy was getting bad in Pennsylvania when grocery shopping stopped feeling like routine and started feeling like a luxury. Enter the store, Walmart, Aldi, whatever, needing to get the necessities, and you come out spending hundreds of dollars. First part, I know my family at least, we're cutting back. We're buying the store brand stuff. We're getting the stuff on clearance, the discounted stuff, not even shopping name brand stuff, and it's still as expensive as hell. People have the audacity to say, well, just budget better. Budget what? The price of food has literally doubled. Exactly what people mean when they say that the middle class in Pennsylvania is disappearing. If normal people are struggling to pay for groceries right now, that should scare everybody. If you're in Pennsylvania, Western PA, you let me know. You let me know if I'm overreacting.
We don't really work a 9-to-5 job anymore. Our generation is working 8 to 5. That's kind of the new normal, which is 9 hours a day, which is 45 hours a week for a full-time job. And because in probably around half the country, living near the city has become so expensive, we don't have the privilege of living 5 to 10 minutes away from work. So we have to live 45 minutes to an hour outside of where we work. So that adds an extra 2 hours a day of commuting, or 10 hours a week in commuting. So a full-time job for someone who is working very hard is putting in 55 hours a week for their main job. That is already an insane amount of time. And most people who are in a relationship have 2 people doing that. That means that there is 110 hours a week being put in under that household roof. And then the suggestion is, we'll work harder, get another job. After 55 hours a week, even if they were to get another job and they did serving or Uber and put in another 15 hours on the weekend, now we're up to 70 hours a week. That is where we are, where it doesn't even feel like we're living our life and then we go to work. It feels like we just work and we get like a lunch break for our life.
The part that makes this affordability crisis feel so different is that it's not only about huge purchases anymore. For a lot of Americans, the stress is coming from small everyday things that slowly started becoming harder to afford. A grocery trip that used to feel normal now requires checking prices, putting things back, or choosing what you can go without. A meal out with friends, filling up your gas tank, or buying something unique can suddenly feel like a decision that needs to be justified. That's why so many people say life feels so much more expensive even when they're not trying to live some extravagant lifestyle. They're not talking about luxury vacations or expensive hobbies. They're talking about the basic parts of feeling comfortable that seem to cost more every single year. And what makes this even more frustrating is that some places who were known for being affordable don't feel that way anymore. People used to talk about certain states or smaller cities as places you could actually get ahead in, but rising housing costs and higher prices have changed that. Even areas that weren't considered expensive are starting to feel out of reach for regular workers. It creates this strange situation where people feel like there's nowhere left to escape to. Moving somewhere cheaper sounds like a solution until you realize those places are becoming more expensive too. The pressure isn't always one giant expense reading someone's budget. Sometimes it's hundreds of small increases adding up until people realize their money doesn't stretch nearly as far as it used to. And that's why so many people feel like they're constantly adjusting instead of actually moving forward. They're cutting back, changing habits, and making sacrifices just to maintain the same quality of life they already had. When normal life starts feeling like something you have to carefully manage, it changes how people think about money, stability, and what the future is actually supposed to look like.
To ignore the way that people feel right now about gasoline prices and mortgage rates, they're pissed off and they have every right to be upset. And as that quote from the CEO of Heinz yesterday, Kraft Heinz, consumers are literally running out of money.
But Kraft Heinz's CEO, Steve Cahillane, said, consumers are literally running out of money toward the end of the month, while explaining why Kraft Heinz is now focusing more on value, promotions, smaller package sizes, and lowering prices on some items that got too expensive. Well, Steve, we regular Americans have been living this reality for years, and we already knew that. People are not bad at budgeting. They are not too lazy to save. They are not spending too much on coffee. They are being squeezed from every direction. Groceries cost more, rent costs more, gas costs more, insurance costs more, childcare costs more, utilities cost more, healthcare costs more. Then corporations act shocked when people stop buying name brand ketchup, Lunchables, cream cheese, and frozen meals like they used to. You cannot budget your way out of being exploited for profit in every aspect of your life. At some point, people run out of money because everything around them was designed to take it. Kraft Heinz is not saying this because they suddenly discovered empathy. They are saying it because customers are buying less, switching to cheaper store brands, waiting for sales, or skipping products altogether. These people are still playing in our faces. They do not care about us.
The biggest impact of this affordability crisis might not even be the money people are losing today, but the way it's changing how people view tomorrow. For a lot of younger Americans, adulthood is starting to look very different from what they were told to expect. Growing up, many people heard that if you worked hard, got an education, and stayed responsible, you could eventually build a stable life. But now a lot of young people are looking around and wondering if that path is still realistic in the same way. Things like buying a home, starting a family, or having enough savings for emergencies can feel like goals that keep moving further and further away. And that creates a weird feeling because people aren't necessarily giving up on those dreams, they're just questioning how much harder they've become to reach. A lot of younger people are watching older generations talk about the opportunities they had while facing a completely different financial reality themselves. They see stories about people buying homes, raising families, and building stability, but they're also seeing how much more expensive those same steps have become. Even businesses are starting to notice the pressure because when regular people run out of extra money, everyone feels it. When consumers start cutting back on everyday purchases, it's a sign that the issue goes beyond just individual budgeting. It shows how widespread the financial pressure has become for normal households. And maybe the hardest part is the uncertainty. People aren't just asking, can I afford this right now? They're asking, will things ever get easier? Or is this just what life is going to be like? That question is especially heavier for younger generations who are trying to plan decades ahead while feeling like the rules keep changing. Because when people lose confidence that their hard work will lead somewhere, it affects the way they make decisions about their entire future. They delay major life choices, rethink their goals, and start looking for completely different paths to create stability. The affordability crisis isn't just about higher prices on a receipt, it's about millions of people feeling like the version of the future they were promised is becoming harder and harder to reach. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace out.